everybody, welcome back to Samara Builds, where I'm building a better life. I just want to start out today right out the gates coming in hot with the disclaimer that I'm not any kind of professional. I'm not a doctor, not a therapist, not a mental health provider, not a scientist. I'm just a human, 32-year-old girly doing my best. I just want to share my experience, take everything I say with a big grain of salt, maybe a little sugar, because I don't know what I'm talking about except that it's my experience. Phew, got that stuff out of the way. Today I want to talk about ketamine. It's in the news a lot lately because Matthew Perry, we recently learned, died from complications due to ketamine or something like that. Like, I obviously don't know the details, but I know that ketamine was involved in his death, and so I've seen a lot of articles and a lot of fear around ketamine, which makes sense. It's not something to take lightly. I'm just going to talk, like I said, about my experience with it though. So here we go. As I've said in previous videos, I have faced depression for most of my life, including suicidal thoughts and suicidal attempts. And like I've talked about, I'm building a better life. I have a lot of tools in my toolbox. I did a whole video about therapy. I've talked a lot about, social connection, coming together. There's like a million things that help me build a better life. Ketamine right now is one of them. Throughout my adult life, I have been on and off antidepressants, and I'm so grateful that I had them and that I was able to, afford them, and I had access to them, and I wasn't surrounded by people who are shaming me for taking them. Some of the side effects were really hard on me, but it was worth it because I didn't want to kill myself anymore. So the benefits outweighed the cons. And I'm definitely not here to bash on antidepressants or anything like that. They were a tool which really helped me during the time, and I'm really, really grateful for them. This past summer, I hit a point of a bit of depression, and when I get depressed, I get these thoughts that like nothing matters. I'm doing all this work to build a better life. I've done a lot of work for a long time, and it gets exhausting at times, and nothing matters. So why try? There's another part of my brain that knows that I deserve to live a happy life that's full of passion and happiness and joy and creativity and growth. And luckily that part of myself was still loud enough that, I reached out to my support group and asked for help. And ketamine was something that I had been interested in for a long time. I'd seen different articles about it, and I just thought, I've tried so many other things, like, let's try this. Because, and this might be controversial, but when I get really depressed and suicidal thoughts come, I allow myself the option of suicide. But I have to try literally every single thing first. I have to do every hack, every program, every medication. I have to try everything first. If it doesn't work, I'm allowed to commit that act, which sounds really dark and horrible, but when I'm in those moments, it actually helps a lot. Anyways, I got to that. I started, getting those thoughts, and I decided to do ketamine, and it changed my life. It changed my life. It was amazing. I have so much I want to say about it. I don't want to go into what each session for me was like, because I feel like that's hearing about a stranger's dreams, which nobody wants to hear about that. Nobody wants to hear about your dreams unless it's like really insane or you are in it, But I reached out to a friend who had done ketamine before to ask like what their experience was like and what they recommended. And I actually reached out to the facility that they went to. It was too far of a drive for me, but asked like where they recommended my area, and they were able to give me the name of a place, and I can let you guys know what that place is if you want. It's in northern Utah. I did 6 sessions, and we started with a low dose and gradually increased. And I have to admit, my first few sessions were not enjoyable, and I did not feel better afterwards. My first one was extremely dark and terrible, and honestly, I probably felt a bit more depressed after it. The next one was still pretty dark, and the third one, because I had had such dark negative experiences, I was really trying to control my trip, my session, which you can't do, but because I kept trying to fight it, I wasn't able to fully sink into it. And so for my fourth session, I thought these sessions are not cheap. Why am I doing this if I'm not going to fully immerse myself into it? Why am I doing this if I'm not going to fully give into the experience to really see what it can do for me? And so at that session, it was so beautiful, and at first it was scary, but it was just ended up being so beautiful and wonderful and full of love. And then after that, the next couple of sessions were just so positive, and it changed my life. I feel like before ketamine, I've done therapy, I've done all this self-work, self-growth, but I just felt like there were some pieces missing. And maybe I would have come to them on my own without ketamine over time, but ketamine just kind of I think I had to go through those negative experiences to break through something to open up to beauty and love. And I think it just put some missing pieces in place for me. I'm really glad that I've been in therapy for so long before I did ketamine, because I feel like it made everything come together and make a lot more sense for me. I think if I had done it without therapy, I would have been just lost in the symbolism, what it really is if I had not learned in therapy how to lean into the uncomfortable, those scary feelings, I don't think I would have had the strength in that fourth session to just fully lean into it. And I'm really glad I did. There are tons of different types of ketamine clinics out there. I'm going to link down below a podcast, one of Andrew Huberman's. Like I said, his podcast is one of the ones that help my mental health. He did a whole podcast about ketamine, and it's fascinating. And he goes into the different ways it works in your brain. He talks about S and R ketamine, which fortunately the clinic I went to do those two kinds. Probably wording this wrong, and he does talk a bit also about how to maybe find the right ketamine clinic. Again, I'm not a professional. I'm just going to say what I felt comfortable with and what I was looking for. There are a lot of ketamine clinics, and unfortunately, in any environment, there are going to be some people who are just there to make money. The place that I went to, I had to have an evaluation where I sat down with somebody and we went over my history with mental health, my history with medications, what medications I'm currently on, any health indications I have or don't have. And based on all that, I qualified, and they told me that they do turn people down sometimes, which to me was a green light. Like that, if they just take anybody that walks in the door, I feel like that could be a red flag, just because ketamine isn't for everybody. Just like therapy isn't for everybody, just like chocolate isn't for everybody. And you should definitely talk to your doctor before you decide to go do it, just to make sure it's something that would be safe for you to do. The place that I went, they were monitoring me the whole time, and they allowed my dad to sit in there with me, which was actually a really special experience in and of itself, just because my relationship with my dad. I'm going to be doing an interview with him pretty soon, and I'm really excited about it. Anyways, and afterwards, we would kind of break down what my experience was and what I felt like it meant or didn't mean, or just sort of how I felt about the whole thing. And then I would, go home, and I would take the day off work and just journal, nap, because I was quite lethargic afterwards, especially the first couple sessions where my body was kind of getting more used to it because it is a sedative. And I would just, if you're, calling different clinics or going in for those preliminary interviews, really listen to your gut. And if your gut doesn't feel comfortable about a place, don't do it, which I would say about like anything. The place that I went, there are, different types of ways of even like administering ketamine. The place that I went, it was an IV. I know some places you do like a nasal spray, and there's different ways of doing it. I liked this way. They just put the IV in. I put an eye mask on. I listened to some earbuds where I would listen to like a ketamine playlist, and it was great. For me personally, I preferred music that didn't have words, because if it did have English words, I was trying too much to listen to the words and like what it was saying, or you want to just like fully lose yourself in it. Wear comfortable clothes. It can make you nauseous. So the place that I went, had me fast beforehand, and they also gave me like an anti-nausea medication mixed in with the ketamine. So I never, luckily, felt nauseous or anything like that, and I always had a good experience that way. And so I would bring snacks to eat afterwards. After my positive ketamine experiences, I felt so empowered and loved and full of love. And before, where I get these thoughts of like nothing matters, so like why should I do anything? Now it's more like maybe nothing matters, and I'm gonna have a hell of a time while I'm here on earth. I'm gonna try to live it up the most I can, and that's okay. And I'm sure everybody has like a little bit different experience with like those types of feelings, but for me that was so liberating and powerful. Like even just that one aspect in and of itself, if I had only had that coming out of ketamine, it would have all been worth it. But like I said, I had a lot more than that, just so full of love for myself, which is huge because I haven't always been able to say that. And just like motivation to change my life, to make those changes I needed to make to keep building a better life. It's just been such a beautiful experience, and it makes me want to keep living a full life. So those sessions were a few months ago, and then winter came, started getting dark. And so while I wasn't really depressed when I went in, I was definitely starting to feel those feelings. So I went in for like a booster, which is what they call it. It was, again, just a really powerful experience where I walked away feeling so empowered, particularly in my femininity of all things. And I just like want to help women so badly. I really, really want to help women. And I'm just like so motivated. Like it's just been really a wonderful tool in my toolkit. And so like I said, reach out to your doctor, make sure it's something that's safe for you, do your research, but don't just like immediately turn away from it because it's new or because it's like a psychedelic, which has all these connotations with it, right? But I don't know. Just be open to life. That's all I'm trying to say. Let me know if you guys have any specific questions about my experience with ketamine. I can go into more detail about like what happened specifically while I was there. I've been thinking about interviewing somebody who administers ketamine for a profession. So if you are someone who does that, who's in the northern Utah area, reach out to me because I think that would be really cool. But thanks so much for watching. If you would just like the video, subscribe, all those things. I always feel so gross when I do this part, but it really means a lot. I notice every number and my heart feels it. So thank you. I hope you have a great day. If you're having a hard time right now, I've been there and I'm so sorry. Keep going. Keep going. I know it sucks. Do one thing today that's going to help you feel a scooch better. Tomorrow do 2. Next day do 1 again. I don't know. Every day we're all trying our best. Keep trying your best. I love you. Bye.